Have you ever felt like you're just drowning in information, wishing someone would, just hand you the really important bits, those aha moments without all the extra noise? Well, that's exactly why we're here. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a skill that's, frankly, fundamental: assertiveness.
Yeah, and it's so much more than just knowing how to say no.
Hmm.
Assertiveness is really a core skill. It helps unlock personal fulfillment, and crucially, it helps build genuine equality in your relationships.
Right. So, our mission today is to cut straight to the core. We're pulling out the key insights, the practical strategies, especially from that influential book, Your Perfect Right. The idea is to help you navigate relationships better, maybe quiet some of that inner anxiety, and, well, live a life that feels more authentic to you. Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. When people hear assertiveness, I think they often jump to, like, being aggressive or maybe just rude. What's the key difference we need to get straight from the start?
That's the perfect place to start. It's a really common mix-up. Assertive self-expression, it isn't about being rude. It's direct, yes, firm, positive, and when it needs to be, persistent. But the key, the absolute nugget here, is the intention. It's about promoting equality in person-to-person relationships.
Equality. Okay.
Exactly. It lets you act in your own best interests, stand up for yourself without, huge anxiety. You can exercise your rights without stomping on others' rights. And importantly, express all your feelings, affection, love, anger, disappointment, honestly and comfortably.
So it's the full range, not just the negative stuff.
Precisely. And what it's not is just as critical. It's definitely not aggression.
Yeah.
Aggression is always me first,
Yeah.
right? Pushing others, denying their rights. And it's not about using little tricks or gimmicks either to manipulate people. Real assertiveness. It's built on mutual respect, always.
That's a really powerful distinction. So, okay, beyond just feeling maybe more confident, what are the real tangible benefits? What does being assertive actually do for us in our lives?
Right. Well, the impact goes way beyond just feeling good. It creates this sort of domino effect of positive change. You can literally be healthier, feel more in charge of yourself in relationships, become more confident, more capable, even more spontaneous.
Spontaneous. Interesting.
Yeah, and studies actually back this up. It directly improves self-esteem. It can reduce anxiety, depression. You gain more respect from others. It helps you actually achieve your life goals. And it significantly improves communication across the board. Think of it like a keystone habit, that strengthens everything else.
Wow. Okay. That sounds incredibly powerful. Makes me wonder, where did this whole focus on assertiveness training, especially for the authors of Your Perfect Right, where did it begin? Was it like a sudden flash of insight?
Not quite a flash, no. More like it grew out of a really clear need someone spotted.
Okay.
It goes back to July 1970. One of the authors got a call from a colleague, Mike Emmons. And Emmons had noticed this gap in the psychological literature. There wasn't much detailed guidance on assertiveness training readily available.
Huh.
Yeah. So they quickly put together the first edition of Your Perfect Right.
Mm.
And the interest was, well, immediate. They sold 60 copies based just on showing the table of contents at a conference.
No way. Just the contents.
Just the contents. It really showed how much people wanted practical advice on this. And that actually led to them starting impact publishers.
So the concept itself wasn't set in stone from day one, right? It sounds like it evolved, even for the people who pioneered it.
Oh, absolutely. Their own understanding grew. A psychiatrist named Michael Serber reviewed the first edition. And he pointed out something they'd kind of overlooked initially. He said, basically, it's great at teaching people to stand up for themselves, but what about expressing warmth, affection?
Ah, the positive side.
Exactly. And that feedback was apparently a real game changer for them. Later editions started putting much more focus on communicating positive feelings, recognizing that, expressing love or care is just as much an assertive act as saying no. It's about that full emotional honesty we talked about.
It's fascinating how these aren't just small-scale personal things. These principles apply to really big situations too, they say. I'm thinking of, wasn't there a story about an ice cream company?
You're probably thinking of Ben & Jerry's. Yeah, classic example. Back in 1984, Pillsbury, who owned Haagen-Dazs, tried to pressure distributors into dropping Ben & Jerry's.
Right, I remember hearing something about that.
And what's amazing is how Ben & Jerry reacted. The book notes they were not intimidated. They didn't just file an antitrust suit, which they did. They also launched this brilliant, very assertive public campaign, What's the Doughboy Afraid Of? Remember that?
Ah, yes.
It was direct, firm, persistent action in their own best interest. And it worked. They settled out of court, and it really cemented them as a premium brand. It just shows how these personal principles can scale right up.
Okay, so if we want to actually be assertive, how do we do it? Is it about, like, learning scripts, memorizing the right lines?
That's a great question, and here's where the sources give us a really powerful insight. How you say something assertively is often way more important than the exact words you use. In fact, they kind of advise against rigid scripts. They prefer you use your own natural language. Focus on being honest, direct.
So it's more about the delivery.
Exactly. It's about embodying the message. Think about the core parts. First, nonverbal communication. This is huge. Your eye contact, your posture, gestures, facial expression, Paul Ekman's work, the facial action coding system, FACS, it showed just how much emotion we convey through tiny facial movements.
Right, like microexpression.
Precisely. Mastering those can really boost your assertive message and help you read others better, too. Yeah. Then there's your voice, the volume, the inflection, the fluency, how smoothly you speak. Michael Serber, the psychiatrist I mentioned, he had this exercise called Sell Me Something.
Sell me something.
Yeah. He'd have clients just talk persuasively about any random object for 30 seconds. The goal was just to practice smooth, flowing speech. Using a recorder or maybe joining a group like Toastmasters can really help with that fluency piece.
Okay, nonverbal voice. What else?
Timing. Now, ideally, you're spontaneous. But here's the liberating part. The book stresses it's never too late to be assertive.
Really? Never too late.
Well, okay, maybe not never, but often you can circle back. If you miss the moment, you can often bring it up later. The key is just being mindful of privacy. Confronting someone in front of a crowd usually just makes them defensive.
Good point.
And finally, persistence. Homer Farner, another contributor, had this mantra, go on, go on, go on. This might be the single most important thing, but, and this is crucial, it's not the broken record technique.
Okay, what's the difference?
The broken record is just mindless repetition. Real persistence, as Alan Alda apparently advised someone once, is about being fair and keeping after them until they're fair with you. It's about the principle, not just repeating words.
I'm really struck by how much of this seems to start internally, in our heads, our thoughts, our attitudes. They play a massive role, don't they? Maybe even foundational.
Oh, absolutely. The cognitive piece is critical. Our attitudes, our thoughts, our beliefs, they fundamentally shape our behavior. Albert Ellis, the psychologist, he boiled it down to this simple ABC progression. A is the activating event, something happens. B is your belief or perception, how you interpret it internally. And C is the consequence, your reaction.
ABC.
And Ellis famously said, what troubles us in life is not what happens to us, but how we react to what happens. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, builds a lot on his work, helping us develop more assertive ways of thinking.
How does this connect to, like, our actual brains?
Yeah, it ties right into brain function. Think in two key parts. The amygdala, that's like your emotional alarm system.
Right, the fight or flight thing.
Kind of, yeah. And then there's the orbitofrontal cortex, the OFC. That's more the thinking, evaluating part that regulates those emotions. So the science backs this up. By consciously using your thinking brain, your OFC, you can learn to manage those immediate emotional reactions from the amygdala. You can choose a more rational, assertive response, even when you feel anxious or angry. It's about gaining control, not just bottling it up.
So what are some common thinking traps that get in the way?
Well, one big one is catastrophizing. Imagining the absolute worst possible outcome for everything. Ellis pointed out how these irrational beliefs really hurt our chances of handling life situations well.
Yeah, I think we all do that sometimes.
We do. Another trap is those self-denying thoughts. Oh, I'm not important enough, or I'll just make a fool of myself. The powerful way to counter that, use positive self-statements. And more than that, actively act like someone who believes those positive things. Fake it till you make it, almost.
Act as if.
Exactly. And there's the technique called stress inoculation, developed by Donald Meichenbaum. It's great for preparing for stressful situations. The book gives an example of Syra, who had a tough court meeting coming up. She prepared these self-messages, like mental prompts. And when she felt overwhelmed in the meeting, she reread them to herself and regained her composure. It's like mental armor.
That was really practical.
Okay.
So we're building this personal toolkit. But assertiveness doesn't just exist in our own heads, right? How do things like culture change the picture?
That's such a crucial point.
Yeah.
And it's a real warning against thinking assertiveness looks the same everywhere. The way assertiveness is defined in these sources, it's primarily a characteristic of, well, Western cultures. In many Asian and Middle Eastern cultures, for instance, the group family, clan, work team often comes before the individual.
Right, collectivist versus individualist.
Precisely. Courtesy is a huge virtue. Communication is often much more indirect, specifically to avoid confrontation or causing someone to lose face. So direct self-expression, in the way we're discussing it, might not be seen as appropriate or even effective in those contexts.
So this really challenges that idea of, oh, people are just people everywhere. We can't just assume everyone operates the same way.
Exactly right. The sources really hammer this home. It's dangerous to stereotype, oh, all people from X culture are like Y. That's obviously wrong. But it's equally misleading to assume culture or gender or age don't matter at all. They significantly shape how we communicate. The best advice: always start with the individual in front of you. Show respect. Ask questions. Listen carefully before making assumptions.
Makes sense. And what about societal pressures, even within, say, Western culture? Can those discourage assertiveness?
Definitely. Think about the workplace. While things have improved in some areas, more collaborative tech firms, telecommuting options giving more autonomy, the fact that whistleblowers, even with legal protections, often still face being shunned or punished.
Yeah, that still happens.
It does. And it suggests there are still powerful, often unspoken pressures to just toe the line, to be non-assertive at work, even when something's wrong.
That's a really sobering point, and it connects to something else you mentioned, how even simple assertive acts like dealing with someone cutting in line feel different now.
It's a stark change, isn't it? Early editions of Your Perfect Right use that exact example: someone cuts in line, you should speak up. But today, one of the authors explicitly says he'd handle that differently now.
Why the change?
Sadly, it's the increased risk. Our perfect rights haven't changed. The principle is the same. But the probability of a really negative, even violent reaction,
Yeah.
a punch, an obscene gesture, maybe even worse, it just feels higher today. So it highlights this need for more caution. You have to assess the immediate situation, the potential risks. Assertiveness still matters, but sometimes choosing silence is the most assertive, self-preserving choice.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. And it's not just about being firm then. You also mentioned the strong emphasis on niceness being part of it too.
Yes, and this feels maybe more important than ever. The sources frame niceness as a crucial component of assertiveness, not separate from it. It includes basic courtesy, holding doors, not cutting in line yourself, asking rather than demanding. It means expressing thanks, appreciating people publicly sometimes, thoughtfulness, remembering others' needs, doing small favors, giving genuine compliments, really listening.
Listening comes up a lot.
It does. And honesty is part of niceness too, being straight with people, but not cruel. Expressing care, keeping your promises. The overall aim is treating each other with genuine respect, even when you're standing your ground or asking for something.
Okay, let's bring this right into our daily lives. How does assertiveness play out in our closest relationships? Starting with family, maybe. How do you foster this in kids?
With family, especially kids, the focus is on mutual respect and using non-aggressive discipline. Think about common kid situations. Someone pushes them in the lunch line, a sibling borrows stuff without asking, teasing happens. Parents need to model and teach assertive responses, not aggressive ones. Though, the sources note, parents often struggle to tell the difference when they're the ones disciplining. It's always about that mutual respect.
And it applies across generations, too.
Absolutely. Grandparents can use assertiveness to advocate for better health care for themselves, maybe ask more time with grandkids, or even teach youngsters about respecting elders. It works both ways.
Now, what really caught my eye was the discussion on intimate relationships. It seemed to, well, flip the script on the usual focus on sex.
It really does challenge the common narrative. The sources argue quite strongly that in intimate partnerships, sex is more like a second-string player.
Second string. Compared to what?
Compared to communication, understanding, and commitment, those are seen as the primary drivers. While sex is important, of course, true intimate sexual expression is presented more as a result of having a healthy, intimate connection overall, rather than being the main cause or the best measure of it.
That's a different perspective.
It is. And they also really emphasize body language in sexual expression, saying it can be even more crucial here than in other interactions, conveying nuances words just can't capture.
Okay, and what about friendships? How does assertiveness help build or maintain those?
Friendship is described as an attitude, really, a feeling of commitment. It can often survive long periods without contact, that idea of a soulmate friend, which they trace back to Aristotle. Assertive actions to build friendships, things like taking small risks, letting friends see the real you, sharing yourself authentically, being spontaneous sometimes, asking for advice, showing vulnerability, and importantly, clearing the air honestly if something's bothering you. It takes active effort.
Right, not just letting things slide. Okay, connecting this to the bigger picture again, our careers. How does assertiveness help us there, especially when, jobs can feel precarious.
Yeah, being assertive at work can definitely feel risky because of potential backlash. But it's so important for career growth. Richard Bolus, who wrote What Color is Your Parachute? His advice is highlighted as a great assertive approach. It's about being proactive, not passive. Plan your job search. Seek work you actually enjoy. Claim your highest skill level confidently. And actively find and approach the employer you want to work for, showing them precisely how you can meet their needs. It's asserting your value proposition.
Before you even get the offer.
Exactly. And in interviews, be friendly, sure, but not like you've rehearsed every line. Show you've done your research on them, ask smart questions, maybe leave a work sample, something tangible to help them remember your skills.
And once they're in the job, communicating with, say, your boss.
Be direct. Don't beat around the brush. Use good eye contact, clear voice, pick your timing well, maybe even ask them how they prefer you bring up questions or issues, and be prepared for criticism. If it happens, don't just get defensive. Ask for specifics. Could you give me an example? That's assertive. It shows you want to understand and improve.
What if you're the boss? How do you supervise assertively?
It comes back to those core principles: honesty, responsibility, cooperation, mutual respect. Good assertive supervision involves really listening to your staff, working with them, giving clear instructions, and actually accepting the responsibilities that come with leadership. It's about empowering your team through clarity and respect.
And finally, what about being assertive with ourselves? Prioritizing our own lives, setting boundaries internally.
Yes, asserting with yourself. This is so fundamental. It's about getting really clear on your personal priorities, recognizing your limits, you can't do everything, and being able to say no sometimes, even to things that look like good opportunities if they compromise what's truly important to you, like family or health. It's about making conscious choices that align with your values. That internal assertiveness keeps you grounded and prevents burnout.
Okay, it's one thing to talk about being assertive, but then there are those really big emotions that just seem to hijack us sometimes, like anxiety. How do we handle that barrier?
Anxiety is a huge one, for sure. The sources offer some really solid self-help strategies. Foundational stuff first. Self-care, diet, exercise, sleep. These aren't just treatments. They're presented as preventions for anxiety. They specifically mention how things like caffeine and sugar can actually ramp up anxiety levels.
A good reminder. What else?
Relaxation techniques are key. Things like meditation, focused breathing exercises, mindfulness practice. And get this, recent neuroscience actually shows these practices can literally rewire the circuitry of the brain. You're building new pathways for calm.
Wow, actually rewire.
Yeah. Journaling is another powerful tool, keeping track of panic episodes, what you were feeling, but also charting your successes, your coping strategies. It gives you data on yourself. And of course, for severe anxiety, full-blown panic attacks, or just chronic low-level stuff that won't quit, they strongly recommend seeking professional help from a psychologist or psychotherapist.
Okay. And then there's the other big one, anger. Such a complex emotion, often really misunderstood. How do we deal with anger assertively, not aggressively?
It is complex,
Yeah.
and the sources spend a good amount of time debunking common myths about anger. Like the myth that expressing anger indirectly is effective to, complaining to your friend about your partner instead of talking to your partner directly.
Yeah, triangulate.
Exactly. They use this classic case study of Martha and John. Martha kept complaining to others about John's habits. It just led to bitterness, resentment. Nothing got solved. Direct, assertive communication could have actually led to them working it out together. The core truth they emphasize is, you'll only really resolve your anger when you've done everything you reasonably can to resolve the cause of the anger.
That makes sense. Now, what really jumped out at me was the link you mentioned between hostility and actual physical health problems. That's pretty alarming.
It is alarming, and it's a crucial connection. Dr. Redford Williams, in his book Anger Kills, identified what he called hostility syndrome. It's this toxic mix of cynical thoughts, constant angry feelings, and aggressive behavior. And his research found this syndrome predicts heart disease with, well, astonishing accuracy.
What's a mechanism?
Chronic anger, that's sustained hostility, can actually cause your blood vessels to constrict over time. This raises blood pressure, increases wear and tear, and ups the risk of heart attack. It's a very real physical danger, not just an emotional state.
Okay, so if we feel angry, how do we decide how to respond constructively?
The Williamses offer a great little checklist. Before reacting, ask yourself 3 things. 1, is this matter actually worth my continued attention? Is it important enough? 2, am I justified in feeling this angry? Is my perception accurate? 3, do I have an effective response I can take? Is there something constructive I can actually do? They suggest pausing, maybe like Mark Twain said, count 4, just to run through those questions
Okay. And if the answer is yes, it's worth it, and I have a way, how do I express it?
constructively.
Yeah.
Key steps. First, accept responsibility for your feelings.
Yeah.
You feel the anger. Others don't make you angry.
Own it.
Use I messages. I feel frustrated when.
Rather than
You always make me. Stick to specifics, not generalizations like you never help out.
Hmm.
And always aim for problem resolution. What can we do differently?
What about just trying to experience less anger in the first place?
Great question. Proactive strategies include improving your relationships, things like community service, practicing tolerance, forgiveness can help, adopting positive attitudes, cultivating humor, having some kind of belief system, reasoning with yourself, remembering you can only truly change yourself, deflecting cynical thoughts when they pop up, and sometimes just avoiding situations you know are likely to trigger your anger. Maybe that perpetually slow checkout line or interactions with a particularly difficult person. Strategic avoidance.
Okay, and what about the flip side? When someone else is angry with you, that can feel really intense.
Yeah, that could be tough. The main advice is try not to take it personally, at least initially. Their anger is about them, their perception. Get clarification. Ask them calmly, can you tell me specifically what you're upset about?
Hmm.
And if it's a serious issue, maybe suggest talking about it later when things have cooled down. This seems important. Can we set aside time to discuss it tomorrow?
What about handling criticism generally, or those annoying put-downs people sometimes use?
Right. For straightforward criticism.
Mm.
Evaluate it. Is it factual? Is it meant to be corrective? Is it motivational? Is it fair? Was it delivered privately? If it meets those criteria, it might be good criticism. Accept it gracefully. If not, you can deflect it assertively. I see it differently, or thanks, I'll consider that.
Hmm.
And apply the same standards when you're the one giving criticism.
And those subtle digs, put-downs.
Ah, indirect verbal put-downs. Like, that's nice work for a woman. Or something similar. The sources call this indirect aggression, uses trickery, manipulation. The perpetrator's labeled a mad dog in a lamb's suit. Sharp phrasing.
Ah, yeah.
The best response is often just to ask for clarification calmly. I'm not sure I understand what you mean by that. It puts the ball back in their court, exposes the hidden aggression. And finally, self-put-downs. We all do it. Oh, I'm such an idiot. Often comes from inner conflict. The advice here is to be assertive with yourself. Be honest, open, straightforward. Acknowledge mistakes, sure, but don't blow them out of proportion. As the book says, essentially, it's human, get over it. Practice self-compassion, not self-attack.
Okay, this has been incredibly thorough, a real deep dive, and it feels very actionable. So how do we pull all these different pieces together and start making real, lasting changes? What's the path forward from here?
Well, it really involves a practical, step-by-step approach.
Yeah.
Like learning any skill. Start by maybe practicing scenarios in a journal. Observe people you know who are good assertive models. How do they handle things? Use visualization. Imagine yourself handling situations effectively. Mentally rehearse. And again, if you're really struggling, don't hesitate to seek help from a licensed mental health professional. They have structured ways to help you practice.
And persistence comes up again here.
Absolutely. The sources reiterate this. Persistence, that go on, go on, go on idea is probably the single most crucial factor. See it as ongoing training. Build on your small successes. Every time you manage even a small situation assertively, it builds confidence for the next one.
What's really interesting, though, and maybe a bit freeing, is the idea that you don't actually have to be assertive all the time. It's not like an obligation.
That's such a critical point, and yeah, it takes off a lot of pressure. Assertiveness is ultimately about personal choice. You don't need to assert yourself just because you can, or every single time something annoys you a little. That would be exhausting. It's vital to choose your battles wisely.
How did you?
You assess the situation. What are the probable consequences? What are the realistic risks? Could there be physical harm? Emotional fallout? Could you lose your job? Damage an important relationship? And critically, will asserting yourself actually make a difference in this specific case? They use the example of dealing with a neighborhood bully. It's complex. Sometimes direct confrontation isn't the smartest or safest choice. Strategic avoidance might be more assertive in that context.
So it's about judgment, not just reflex.
Exactly. And developing your own personal style of assertiveness is also key, something that feels authentic to you. Don't rely on robotic scripts. Don't try to play armchair psychologist and analyze everyone else. Just focus on being yourself, expressing yourself clearly and honestly, while always considering the other person's needs and rights too. It's about being effective as you.
If we zoom out one last time, connect this to the really big picture.
Yeah.
This isn't just about personal gain, getting your needs met, is it? It feels like there's something larger at play.
You're right. The sources really elevate the discussion at the end. They talk about assertiveness in the context of our membership in the human community.
Hmm.
Assertive action, when done well, isn't just self-interested. It can be unselfish, too. It can benefit society as a whole. They point to historical figures, Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., Nelson Mandela, Leishful Lesa,
Wow, big examples.
right? People who engaged in personally responsible, often very risky, public assertiveness. They acted on their deepest beliefs, not just for themselves, but for the welfare of entire groups, for humankind. The implication is that our own assertiveness doesn't have to stop at personal comforts, like getting our steak cooked right. It can extend to, as they put it, 1,000 causes worthy of your energies.
So it connects to purpose.
Exactly. It connects to contributing something beyond ourselves. So to wrap up, assertiveness isn't some kind of license for selfishness. Not at all. It's really a powerful tool. A tool for building equality, for fostering real connection, and for contributing, in ways big or small, to a more just and respectful world. And it starts with how you interact every day. So maybe the thought to leave you with is this. As you move forward, ask yourself, where can your assertive voice make the most meaningful difference? Both for your own fulfillment, yes, but also for the human community around you.